Today we're going to be talking about the new Superman arc written by Brian Michael Bendis about Clark Kent revealing his identity to the world. Then at the end of the video I'm going to kind of give some of my thoughts on all of this, and I think it's time we have a little talk, again, about Brian Michael Bendis' time with Superman. Enjoy. Before we get into all of that, be sure to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Now let's get to this thing. Life has been difficult for Superman as of late. He has lost his son, first to the effects of aging, then to the future itself, while he lost his father to the past. In the present, Clark has been thinking a lot about his identity and whether or not it really serves him any purpose. He talks this over with a number of people, first and foremost, those who would be affected by a change in all of this. He reaches out to Lois Lane and Supergirl, explicitly for that reason, explaining how he feels to both of them. Though his cousin is very supportive of all of this, Lois remains tenuous, and they get into an argument over a strange, lead-lined box recently given to her by Lex Luthor that seems to have captured her interest. Yet it is only after a conversation with spacefaring hero Adam Strange that Superman's feelings begin to crystallize. All along, Superman's whole dual identity was less about the need to protect himself, or even those around him, since he's more than powerful enough to do that already. But it was more of a way to keep the hero grounded to Earth and humanity. A way for him to better understand the people around him. That made sense once, when he was an alien orphan on a strange new world with powers that could shatter the planet. But now he is a guardian of this planet, with a family and an active, thriving life here. Clark Kent may have already served his purpose. Superman goes to Perry White and James Olsen to give them an early advance on what's coming. He then goes to a press conference and, with the world watching, announces that he is Superman in Kal-El, which the world already knows. But he goes by another name too, Clark Kent. Watching this from afar, Lex Luthor and the Legion of Doom look on in shock. They were not expecting this. Luthor doesn't say a word. Okay, so I do want to take a little bit of time to talk about this comic, at least in the broadest sense. While I'm sure there are people who are enjoying this thing, I really found it a chore to get through the 2 issues that are covered as part of this review of the Superman series. All of Bendis' worst habits are on display in this comic, from his campy, unfunny humor to the way he structures dialogue and pacing. We actually spend so little time dealing with the meat of this story. I think there's something very interesting here, exploring the nature of Superman's identity, his relationship to others, and some of the dynamics going on here are really special. The scene where Superman reveals himself and his role as Clark Kent to Perry White is done with no dialogue and is pretty much perfect. It makes this whole thing, in my eyes, potentially worthwhile to see something like this because it was moving and interesting. But that's just one page, and in comparison, the conversation between Superman and Jimmy Olsen is borderline unbearable, and also just kind of gets into the farce of all of this. The way he puts on his glasses and it's supposed to mean something, whereas Jimmy Olsen puts it, it's just Superman with glasses. It's always been Clark Kent in him. Yet, Jimmy didn't know this all along, he just got an advanced warning from Lois Lane. The lackluster nature of this comic is particularly relevant because part of this event also includes the Lois Lane comics going on right now, written by Greg Rucka, and the quality difference is astounding, jumping from Superman to Lois Lane. It's disappointing because the Lois Lane comics show the version of the story from her side of things, and while that's cool and interesting, it isn't really used in any meaningful way to tell the Superman story. It's more of to tell Lois Lane's story. And those Lois Lane comics are great. I actually definitely recommend the Lois Lane series. But the Superman stuff is totally lame. I'm not dead set against revealing this secret identity thing, but Brian Michael Bendis is one of the worst people to do this. For one thing, this reeks of retreading old ground for him. When all of this was announced, he insisted this was going to be different than when he had Daredevil reveal his secret identity, but nothing I've seen so far has been all that different. Yes, the way it happened to Daredevil was very different. It sort of happened to Daredevil, whereas Superman's very much in control of all of this. But beyond that, it just sort of feels like the same dynamics. We get to see these characters learn this secret about their friend, and that is meaningful. But beyond that, it's just a change in the status quo that Bendis has done with other superheroes before, and that doesn't feel all that meaningful to me. If anything, it just compounds the problems that I and so many people have had with what Bendis has done to Superman. I find it so frustrating that Dan Jurgens just built up Superman to, in my opinion, the best he's ever been in the early days of Rebirth, and now Bendis has effectively dismantled all of that and broken it all right back down. We're left with this mess. John Kent is effectively gone, and everything great about Rebirth Superman is like a thing of the past at this point. Some of it's for good. I do like what Scott Snyder's doing with Lex Luthor now, and it's kind of neat to see how all that ties into this. More of this story arc will kind of get into that stuff more, so maybe, like, the story arc hasn't finished yet, so maybe there is more coming, but for now, I did not enjoy this storyline, and would not recommend it. So, we'll see if we keep covering this thing. Let me know if you'd like that in the comments section below, and we'll go from there. Thanks for watching this video, and keep reading comics.